And welcome to another episode of FITTFACTION podcast. I'm Kyle Gilling, and jumping in for Trevor today is Steve the Anvil DeShriver, also CEO of IronYetiStudios.
Owner, operator.
I
really hate the fact that Trev is missing today. Thanks, Trev. Thanks for staying home.
That's okay. It
I
gives
do
me
great in front of the camera.
It gets me a chance to do shots at Steve a little more live, and everybody gets to see his response today.
My mom always said I had a face for radio.
She's not wrong.
I know.
So, anyways, a few topics kind of want to get into. We'll be breaking these up in different segments as we go, but today would like to kind of address more questions that I hear now that we've been here in the store for a while here at Fit Republic Southlands. Learning a lot about protein sources for one. I have had a number of inquiries as far as like difference between whey protein, casein, whey isolate, whey concentrate, blends. I mean, there's actually a lot more to protein than a lot of people think. And once we hear something explained one way, even if it was 20 years ago, we tend to just stick with what we know. And it's kind of that old school gym mentality, and we don't always evolve with the times. Fitness has obviously evolved. I mean, it evolves annually. Every year, something new gets discovered, or something old that used to work comes back, and we just keep evolving what's the best way for us to be fit, be healthy, work out. And that also involves nutrition. I mean, we've seen a huge spectrum of different diets and ketos and intermittent fasting, and it can get pretty complicated and overwhelming sometimes because there's so much information out there now that it's kind of hard for people to decide like what's the best route for them and what should they be doing. So today I just want to cover protein and just break it down. I'll avoid my P's since that causes something with the mics. So
it's fine.
I'm gonna pee over the mic.
Thank you.
Come on.
I don't think that came off as intended.
Funny. Come on.
Or maybe it came out exactly as intended.
It came out as I intended. But anyways, so let's start with whey protein. That's probably the most famous, at least from what I've heard from people. Everybody's heard of whey protein. And by far it is one of the best qualities of protein you could get. It's a super beneficial protein that you need to be taking in, and that's great. One of the differences, though, that people have had some questions about is what's the difference between isolates and concentrates with whey protein. And really that just comes down to how they're manufactured, or I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but how they get the whey separated from, it's a dairy product. So how you get it separated from like cheese and things like that is a big source of where they get it from. But basically the isolate is just more of a filtered source of whey protein. So it's been filtered more. They've been able to take out more of the carbohydrates and the fats that are typically associated with that whole process without kind of getting too involved with it. And it's just a more pure form of whey protein. So for a lot of people, we've become a more macronutrient conscious society. And so we pay more attention to calories and fats and carbohydrates and what's in everything we get. And so you're going to find that a whey isolate is a more pure form of protein. So you're going to have more protein condensed into a smaller portion. You're going to have less of the carbohydrates and less of the fats. And that's really what people look at. So when they look at a protein, they'll be like, oh, this protein has more protein with less calories. And a lot of times that's the draw, I think, because they think, well, more calories is bad, so I kind of want to stay away from it. When it comes to the concentrate, really the concentrate is just a more, I guess, wholer form of it. So it's not as broken down and filtered out. So it's going to have a little bit higher carbohydrate count, a little bit higher fat count mixed in with it. It's still whey protein. It's just not as filtered out and pure, I guess, is how you would say it. And the major difference would just be a little bit higher in the calories, but a lot of times it's a much cheaper source. So it just kind of, honestly, I would just cut it down to a pricing scenario. It's going to be a little more expensive to isolate the whey isolate, and it's going to be a little less expensive to get the concentrate. So
gotcha.
If that makes sense.
So does it, at a very, very basic level, and remember who you're talking to, small words,
right.
And I do not have a fitness background. So if I'm starting a workout program, like any type of serious training, first off, I think you mentioned this in a previous podcast. How much protein should I be consuming per day?
Ideally, you'd want to be trying to get at least 1 gram of protein per pound of lean muscle mass you have.
And how do you figure that out? Like if I had to take a guess, so I weigh 185 pounds.
So 185 pounds, safely you'd want to say at least 150 grams.
Okay.
It's a lot of it's just guessing. We're not that good to where we can pinpoint the exact amount of protein, and so many factors are involved, but you want to make sure you're getting at least, I would say at the very, very least 80 to 90% of your total body weight.
Okay. That helps.
So if
that
you
helps
weigh 200 pounds, you'd
Okay.
want to get at least 180 grams would be a good goal to start with. Obviously, depending on how active you are and your workout routine and stuff, you may or may not want more on top of that. But so you're looking at about a gram per pound of lean muscle mass you have.
Okay.
And then with regards to your workouts, the great thing about whey and why it's so popular is it is the ideal source of protein to take post-workout. So you just got done working out. You depleted your energy storage. Your muscles are broken down. They're starving to repair themselves. Whey is a real accessible protein for your body to absorb immediately after a workout.
How immediate?
Like immediate, within a 30-minute window at the latest. But
why is that important though? So as I'm leaving the gym, like I have a protein shake.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, so you literally just broke down your muscle tissue. So when you're in the gym, you're not building in the gym, you're breaking down. And your body's natural response is to build itself back up stronger so that it can accept that challenge and that stimulus that you put on it while you're at the gym. But if you don't have protein ready to go, your body's going to start starving and you're going to start to go into a catabolic state where you're actually just losing muscle because you broke it down and you can't repair it.
Gotcha.
So the whey protein, it gives you that protein so that your body can begin the recovery process and building those muscles back up. But the problem with being a super quick absorbing source of protein is that after you absorbed it, so we'll say post 45 minutes or so, you're no longer absorbing protein because you absorbed it all so quickly. And that's the case where you would start looking at the benefits of more slowly digested type proteins. So like casein, for one, is a slow absorbing protein. So it would be a horrible protein to focus on immediately following your workout, but it would be ideal for those longer term. So maybe 3-4 hours after your workout, you're going to still be absorbing protein if you have a casein type protein mixed with it, or before you go to bed, because you're going to sleep. I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours, but a typical person should be getting through 8 hours.
I read that somewhere. That's
I'm
not
doing
enough.
better.
Okay.
But if you're sleeping 8 hours, that's basically 7 hours of starving that your muscles are going through while you sleep. The most ideal time for you to build your muscle back up, and you have no building blocks to repair yourself with. And that's why a long-term slow digesting like casein would be certain and important in that scenario. So that kind of breaks down the extreme ends of the spectrum, a quick absorbing protein and a slow absorbing protein. But ideally, and we've kind of just not everybody, most people understand, like they've heard of whey protein. They're like, oh, cool, that's what I need. That's what I want. It's low calorie. I can get a lot of grams of protein in a low calorie shake, which sounds really appealing, but your number one goal would be to absorb protein all day long. In a perfect world, that's what would happen. So what you recommend nowadays, and this, I don't know if I'd say new age science, but it's, as far as I know, it should be pretty generally accepted that a multi-source or a multi-blend protein is the way to go.
Okay.
So instead of just like, let me take this one and then take this one, you get a protein that just has it all in it. So something that you could take immediately following your workout, but has a longer absorption rate in your body. You're looking at 3 to 4 hours that you're going to continually be absorbing protein. And there's also proteins that are in the middle of the whey and the casein. So if you got your like egg protein or your soy proteins are kind of that middle of the road absorption. So if you get a good blend of those, you're actually absorbing immediately after your workout and up to about a 4-hour window after your workout by just using a multi-source protein to start out with rather than breaking it down.
Gotcha. So the multi-source is just as good after a workout and then also a couple hours later. Not just as good, but it works.
Yeah, well, it's got the same stuff. It's just conveniently put it all in one together for you so that instead of having to break them apart, and some people prefer to do it this way, especially more old school gym goers, they like to be in control of it, and that's fine if you want to go through that. But for the average person, just get a blend, get it all over with, get that whole spectrum of protein and the absorption of it, and that's the way to go. I mean, we carry the separate forms here, but in general, I always recommend a multi-source. The one really, I guess, a special point to make with the whey isolate is that some people are that have lactose intolerance type issues because whey is a milk type product or a milk type protein. If you get the isolate form, it gets rid of most of the lactose and stuff that causes people the
isolate
issues.
Does?
Yes.
Okay.
So and I've had people coming into the store that have tried it and they said it worked great for them. So if you do have issues and you struggle with dairy issues and things like that, I would recommend a whey isolate in that form, because then you're kind of skipping the stuff that sets you off.
Gotcha. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the protein update.
Yeah, I'm glad I could educate, at least partially.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
All right.